Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.
Come on, honey, let's sit down. You're old enough now to know the truth.
Was there someone else?
No, it was nothing like that.
Then what was it?
It was you.
Me?
Having you. Raising you, seeing you every day. I mean, do you have any idea what that's like?
What?
Gosh, you don't even see what's right in front of your face, do you? Well, big surprise there. All you ever think about is yourself. You get in trouble. You embarrass us with all the crazy stunts you pull. And do I have to go on?
No. Please don't.
You're sullen and rude, and you're not nearly as bright as I thought you were going to be. I mean, Buffy, let's be honest. Could you stand to live in the same house with a daughter like that?
Welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Buffy. We're just two boys watching every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, reviewing it, giving our reactions to it, and hopefully having a laugh. We're your hosts. I'm Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we're talking about episode 10 of season 1, titled Nightmares. It was directed by Bruce Seth Green. The story was by Joss Whedon. The teleplay was by David Greenwalt. The original air date was May 12th, 1997, to an audience of 3.47 million people. About 3.5 million people. This is the first time we got a story by teleplay by different credit type of thing.
Yeah.
But this is a wild one. There's a lot going on. I think Vance and I talked before we started recording that, well, I don't know if this is the most notes I've taken on an episode, but it's definitely quite up. No, there was one the 2 episodes ago where I had more, but there's a lot of notes here. There's a lot to keep straight.
Yeah, for me, it's just keeping the story straight. At first, I was like, I don't need to write this down. But I was like, okay, they're going scene to scene real quick. And I need to just to keep track of what's happening.
You had to pause a couple of times and rewind a couple of times.
Overall, though, how did you feel about the episode?
You know, it wasn't my favorite. It was pretty interesting. They had some good concepts in it. But, I mean, some of the, special effects were really bad in this. Really bad.
Yeah, it could have been darker than what they had it be, which I thought they were going to do. Yeah.
I mean, there was some stuff that, they kind of left... they didn't pay it off. Mm-hmm. And I thought that they were going to, and then they went into a completely different direction. I was like, oh, well, this is like Chekhov's gun thing where they didn't pay it off at all.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I want to get into it. Let's see.
Yeah. All right. So we start off the episode with Buffy in the creepy lair of the master vampire. And she's looking to kill him, and she's got a stake in her hand, and she's holding it very haphazardly. She doesn't look strong with it at all.
I gotta say, I wrote down this because I knew this had to be a dream because she hadn't been to that Hellmouth yet. But it's like she had the stake is so short.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're gonna have a stake to kill vampires, it should be like baseball bat length.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to be.
Staff.
You shouldn't have to be in neck biting range for it to work. You know.
Yeah, and so the master sneaks up from behind her and grabs her by the neck, and he's like, "I'm going to kill you or turn you into a vampire." And she wakes up because it's a dream. Mm-hmm. And she's like, but Buffy's mom is like, "Hey, it's time to go to school." And she's like, "Oh, thank God." Go to school. And her mom's like, "Wow, this is the first time you've ever wanted to go to school." And don't forget, I talked to your father today, and he's going to come and get you this weekend or something. And this is the first mention of Buffy's dad and first sighting and all this stuff.
Yeah. No, is that your Chekhov's gun, the dad stuff?
No.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the dad came out of left field. I forgot he was even a part of the... Because I remember one pod you asked, oh, what happened to our dad? Do we even know? And I was like, yeah, I don't think we know anything about her dad. And he is just plain old.
He's just the most normal guy.
Yeah. When he got out, I was like, there's nothing to him.
Yeah, we see him later in the episode, and he's just like wearing brown and olive. He's like the most plain, nothing special about him guy ever. Yeah. His name is Hank Summers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he lives in LA, and Buffy never really gets to see him. So when they see him, she's super happy about it. She's talking to Willow about it, and nothing really too crazy there. And then we cut to a classroom scene where Cordelia is fixing her makeup, and some fucking guy named Wendell, who... Have we seen him before? He looked familiar.
No, I just, once we saw him, I was like, oh, this is a new character for the episode.
Yeah, I mean, he looked vaguely familiar, but we never got his name ever before. Like, maybe he was just like an extra in the class, and they were like, you know what, you're doing good.
Yeah.
We'll put you in. Your name is Wendell, another name that no one would name their kid.
There's some, I guess there's Wendells in the 90s. I don't know.
The most normal name in this show is Xander. And that's still kind of a crazy...
Cordelia is normal.
Cordelia's not normal at all!
No, I do know a Xander. I don't know a Cordelia.
Yeah. I don't know a Willow. I don't know a Buffy. I don't know a Rupert Giles.
Wait,
so anyway...
Did they call him Nigel at some point?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure his name is Rupert, though.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, she yells at Wendell and for standing in her light, and then Xander has to make some kind of crack about how, like, oh yeah, don't you know the world revolves around you? Then they're talking to Wendell randomly, and like, oh yeah, isn't Cordelia just the worst? And then Xander's like, oh, I forgot the homework. And they're like, it's about active listening. Like, all of this makes no sense. And it's not...
Well,
really,
here's where we get entertaining. There's a teacher that, like, they were like, oh, you remember you talked to her? And Buffy's like, the one with the tight shirt or something. And then he's like, oh, yeah, the midnight blue Angora. And I was like, all right, creepster. And it's like, also, you have now another crush on another teacher after what you've been through?
Right.
And this teacher looks almost at the same level as the last teacher. So it seems like all the female teachers are, and the computer lab teacher is pretty hot. So like every teacher is like, I don't understand why Praying Mantis teacher was like, oh my God, she's so hot, when every teacher in the school looks almost the same.
Well, the computer science teacher is super hot. The alien spore vine woman was hot. This lady, I thought she looked like Sherry O'Terry. I didn't think she was anything special, but he's a high school boy.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a high school middle-aged man.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't look like to the point where the new teacher was like, oh my God. There's that, and I was like, why are you still attracted to teachers after what you've been through? Like,
Xander, he can't keep it in his pants, my man.
Yeah, a horny late 20s.
So yeah, then they open up their books and something happens where Wendell opens his books and a bunch of spiders crawl out of it, and Buffy turns... Well, first, Buffy drops her pencil, looks out...
that pencil drop was so staged.
Yeah.
I was like, what is she going to see? As soon as she dropped that pencil.
She dropped the pencil, looks out the back door of the classroom, and there's a little creepy kid standing there. Mm-hmm. And then she sits back up, and Wendell has opened his book, and there's a bunch of spiders crawling all over him. And it's like, oh, God, oh, spiders. And everybody sees it, and everybody's freaked out. And then we get the opening credits.
So, to unpack this is the first thing that people have actually freaked out about, like outside of the, like there's been weirder stuff. People didn't freak out with the cheerleader with her hands on fire as much, or the cheerleader with her like mouth sealed shut.
Oh, yeah.
Like no one was screaming that loud. Like these spiders freaked out everyone. Like
absolutely.
The teacher was losing it. Like she was backing up and almost falling over her desk. The weirdest thing about this is that later we find out that Wendell likes spiders.
Yeah.
Which makes his screaming even weirder.
Yeah. So
I guess it's fine, but also, yeah.
So we come back from the intro sequence when the master vampire's lecturing his little chosen one kid about fear and how it's awesome. And
for some reason, he has a cross like in his lair that he just touches at times.
Yeah.
And at first, it's like close up, so I wasn't sure what it was. I was like, is there sunlight down there? I thought he was putting his hand in like sunlight or something. And then it zooms up to a wide shot and it's like the cross. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. Why is that where you sleep?
Well, he has it there because he wants to use it to conquer his fear, Vance. Because fear is mental, just like pain. And that's why he grabs it and starts sizzling. Yeah. And he's like, I can handle this. Yeah. Oh, I can handle this. And then he's like, okay, cool. I've overcome my fear of Jesus.
Yeah. And and then you got the weird Antichrist Colin with the voice modulator.
Yeah. And that's basically that scene. So I thought that the creepy kid and the anointed one were the same kid for a second. And then it was very quickly established that it wasn't.
Yeah. And that's a good idea to have that scene right after it. So you can be like, these are two different kids. The anointed one hasn't come up yet. He's still just sitting down there doing nothing.
Yeah, just learning how to conquer his fears.
Just taking lessons from this guy who turned him.
Yeah. So Buffy's mom drops her off at school. Buffy's like, I haven't been sleeping well. And the mom's like, I know. I could hear you screaming all night. Anyway, your dad's coming to pick you up after school. He likes you more than I do. See ya.
No, she didn't say he likes you more than I do. He says he likes you not more than I do.
Oh, I thought she said he adores you even more than I do.
No, not. Oh, okay. No. And she's like, I adore you too. Like, she doesn't want to say, oh, he's better. Like, he likes you more than me. She's not saying that. Okay, that would be an awful thing for her to say.
I thought that's what she said. I was like, damn.
Then that would just undercut the whole thing that happens later.
Yeah, I definitely misheard that then. So Buffy goes into school and she's talking to Xander and Willow and they're like, we should definitely talk to Giles about the spider stuff that went on yesterday. And Buffy's like, why? And then Xander finally is like, we live on a hellmouth. This is something that we do. Crazy stuff happens. We figure out what it's about. You slay it. We party.
Yeah. I was like, Xander's making sense. Like, the spiders, not a big deal yet.
Yeah. So they go to Giles. They go to the library. And Giles is lost in the library. He's acting really weird. He's like, I was in the stacks and I was lost. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever. Did you figure out anything about the spiders? And he's like, not really. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, who was he sleeping with back there?
That's what I was thinking.
Because, one, how big is this library that he's lost in the stacks? Like, just in general, like, how deep does this go?
Also, I mean, I feel like you got to understand, and big spoiler for this.
Yeah, just go for it.
The episode is people's nightmares are coming true.
Yeah.
How lame is Giles that his nightmare is that he got lost in the library? Like that was one of his nightmares that he had.
Yeah, the second one makes more sense.
Yeah,
but this one was like, wait, you thought you got lost in that library? Not like an ancient one? And being trapped in the library seems like it'd be his dream.
Right?
It's like, his fantasy.
So, yeah, he comes out and he's all stumbling over his words and I just don't know. I don't know.
I was like, and he's like sweaty and his tie is askew. And I'm just like, all right, what's going on back there?
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, is he hooking up with the fucking computer science lady?
And I was like, why is he being so weird? Like why did he come running out like that?
Yeah. So then he kind of gives them the suggestion of, why don't you talk to Wendell about it? And they're like, you know what? Good point.
They're like, oh, wow, we should talk to a student that it happened to directly. Yeah. Did anyone else, like any teacher, any guidance counselor decide to talk to him? Nope.
Wendell's just been ostracized from the school.
How did they get rid of the spiders? Who knows?
No idea.
Yeah.
So they go and talk to Wendell and they're like, hey, man, well, that thing with the spiders was pretty crazy yesterday. And he's like, yeah, wasn't it? I had nightmares about it. And they're like, oh, so you hate spiders? And he's like, no, I don't hate spiders. I actually love spiders. And then in the middle of this conversation, Cordelia is walking by and he goes, hey, Buffy, we have that history test. Mm-hmm. Don't you know? You got to come and take this history test. And Buffy's like, oh, I didn't even know. I didn't even know I was supposed to be in history. Crap, I got to go. So she leaves. Wendell continues talking to Willow and Xander about his spiders and how he used to have the biggest collection of spiders in Sunnydale. And he loved spiders and he went away for a week or something. And he had to have his brother take care of the spiders. And he let the heat lamp on for too long and it killed all the spiders. And now he has nightmares about all of those spiders seeking their revenge on him. And that was kind of like what was going on with his nightmare.
Yeah, he talked about having like brown recluses and black widows, but all we saw were giant tarantulas in his nightmare.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
It was so weird when he was like, no, I love spiders, but they hate me.
I was like, all right. Did you think at that point that his brother was the kid?
No.
Really? I thought the kid was his brother that Buffy had saw. At that point, I had no other reason to think that this is some comatose kid.
Some little league baseball player in a coma.
Oh, is this the ghost of your brother who you killed for killing your spiders? Like, I thought he was going to be the story.
Nope. Wendell is just this is the last we it's the last we see Wendell.
Yeah, that's a wrap. Like, he didn't get anything. This
really creepy, I love spiders, but they hate me. What are you talking about?
Good job.
So yeah, Buffy goes to her history class. Cordelia's being very suspiciously nice to her. Which
there's a joke that I really liked when Xander's talking to Wendell, he's like, arachnids. And he's like, they were from the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's like such a dumb, but like clever joke for like the 90s.
Yeah. I also wrote down, I forgot to write that Wendell was super pissed that Xander didn't know more about spiders. Yeah. He was like, they're just a bunch of insects crawling all over. He's like, they're arachnids. Insects have 6 legs. Arachnids have 8. God, you're such an idiot. So, okay.
Arachnids, they were from the Middle East. Like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah. So then Buffy goes to her history class, and this is one of her nightmares too, where she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a test, and I don't know anything about it." And Cordelia's being super nice, which is the clue that this isn't real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew it wasn't real as soon as she dragged it to the history class.
Yeah, and Buffy's blowing it. She doesn't know any of the answers except for her own name. She crushes her pencil by accident. Mm-hmm. She looks at the clock and it's like 11:30, and then she sharpens her pencil, looks back up at the clock, and it's 12:15. Mm-hmm. She's like, what? And then the class ends and she hasn't answered anything. She's like, oh crap. And then she sees the creepy kid at the door again. Yeah. She's like, oh, this is something going on.
This makes me think of something that I thought of last week and I wanted to bring up. Willow has the ability to access the school's records, right?
Yeah.
Why doesn't she just change Buffy's grades?
Oh. Maybe she hasn't gotten to that level of hackerdom yet.
I feel like she's there.
Well, didn't she like break into a security system?
Yeah, like she can change grades. Like I'm just like, you know what? Buffy's got a lot on her plate. Like,
yeah,
maybe she doesn't have time to do her homework because she's out slaying at night. You know what? Give her some B's, some B pluses,
or maybe like give a little update to her permanent record, make it a bit more clean.
I mean, Buffy can die any day. She does not need to spend time studying certain things.
Yeah. I love your, like, throughout this whole podcast, you're so adamant about, like, Buffy doesn't need to be in school.
I mean, we have athletes that, like, leave right after senior year who didn't do anything. And and it's like, they're just playing a sport for, like, 10 years. Like, and they might live to be, like, 70, 80, 90, you know? Like, her life expectancy is maybe 45 at max. Like, Slayers don't like get old, probably.
Yeah. So then we just get kind of like a completely random girl who's like, I'm gonna go take a little smoke break.
We get random I'm gonna go down to the basement.
Yeah. So she goes down into the basement to smoke a cigarette, and then this was actually kind of funny. The little kid, the creepy kid, warns her not to go down there, but she doesn't hear him. He's like, I wouldn't go down there. Goes down there, lights up, and then this huge, like, Uncle Fester with a burnt face and a club hand shows up, and he's like, lucky 19. And she's like, what? And he slowly runs up to her and then, like, bops her on the head.
Yeah, she did nothing to get out of the way.
Yeah. And it's like the softest fight choreography ever.
Terrible.
It's so bad. He hits her in the head with his club hand and like kind of beats her while she's on the ground.
Yeah.
And
it's got a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. It's definitely what they were going for with the basement, with the furnace and the lighting all red. It's definitely Nightmare on Elm Street. As I think about this scene, knowing how this ends, why is that guy down there?
Yes, exactly. And why is he a part of her nightmare?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense at all. Like, it doesn't. Like, if it's Lucky 19 and he's chasing that kid, why is he spending time down in the basement with this girl?
Yes, it doesn't make any sense.
And I love that we have our third anti-smoking poster reference. Because after she gets knocked out, because she goes on there to smoke a cigarette, she gets knocked out, it pans to the wall, and there's a no smoking sign. Again, this is the third time that they've focused on no smoking.
It's propaganda, Vance.
It's insane. We were 10 episodes in, there's 3 no smoking posters.
Yeah, it's wild. So yeah, the next scene is Buffy and Giles going to visit this girl. Her name is Laura. They go to visit her in the hospital. And on the way there, Giles is like, do you even know this girl? And Buffy's like, I know her enough to say hi to her. Like, I don't really know her at all. And so they go into her room and she's like, hey, how are you? Like, she's greeting them like they know each other.
Dude, I wrote this down. Are they school security?
Yeah, right?
Like, are they like the mystery team? And they're just like, oh, okay, thanks. You guys are going to solve this problem for me. Like, did the cops ask you who hit you? Like, are your parents around? Like, what is happening? Like, why is Giles and Buffy show up and you're like, you could talk to us?
Yeah, and Giles has brought flowers.
Yeah.
It's like, if the librarian of my high school showed up,
right,
and then some random kid that I barely knew, I'd be like, what are you doing here?
I'm like, are you two together?
Yeah.
What is happening?
But of course, Laura does not question this at all.
No.
Well, I will say Laura looks like a real high schooler.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when compared to Buffy, it's like, this is weird looking. So Buffy's like, hey, who hit you? Do you know? And she's like, some really ugly dude. And she's like, well, if you think of anything jogs your memory, let us know, even if it is really weird. And then she goes, well, he did say lucky 19 before he hit me. And they're like, that is pretty weird. And then they leave.
And Giles is like, I'm going to have to look through every book for lucky 19.
Yeah. Well, it's also like in this scene, as they're talking to her, a nurse comes in randomly and she's just starts talking over Buffy and Giles.
I thought the nurse was going to turn out to be some like villain or something, because the way it was like her VO was laid in, but you never saw her face. You're like, yes. Time to go now. You have to get your rest. It was like Nurse Ratched or something.
That's what I thought.
I was like, what's happening here?
This is the time where I rewound to see, like, what did I miss something? Like, what's going on?
It's VO nurse dialogue.
It made no sense.
Yeah, good catch, because I remember that being like, oh, okay, something weird is happening with this nurse, and they're gonna leave, and then it's gonna turn. It's gonna be that guy. He's gonna be like, let's get 19. He's gonna hit her again or something.
Yeah. Just a rude nurse.
I gotta say, for her diagnosis, she looks great.
Right?
They're like broken bones, bruises. We saw her just get mollywopped down there. Like, yeah, the person wasn't like, he wasn't pulling punches when he was beating her up. And we see her, she's barely bruised. She's got like a mark on her cheek.
Yeah, she's got like a little cut lip and like a bruise on the side of her head. But Buffy and Giles go out in the hallway and they're talking to her doctor, and he's like, she's got a bunch of shattered bones. She's got internal bleeding, a concussion probably.
Yeah. One of her eyes doesn't work. Like, what are you talking about, guys? Yeah. And I love the beginning of the scene. The doctor's like, they asked about her, and they're like, are you family? And they go, no, friends. And he's like, okay, I'll give you all the info.
Yeah, right? I'll give you all of her info, as well as there's another kid that got beat up in a similar way who's in a coma.
Yeah, and I'll tell you all about him, too. I'm like, hey, patient confidentiality here, buddy.
Yeah, man. And they like stare at the little kid, and he's facing away, but it's the creepy kid.
It was so obvious.
You just know it's the creepy kid that's been seen. So then we go back to the school, and there's like some kind of weird greaser kid in a greaser bag.
Yo, that I was like, what is this?
He has like weird thin sunglasses, and he's hanging out with these like greaser guys, and he's like, and I told that bitch, I'll beat him up. I don't care if it's in front of his whole family. I'll kick his ass. And Xander and Willow are just like watching this. And then that guy's mom shows up, and she's like, oh, Pookie, you look so cute. She starts kissing all over him, and he's like, Mom, stop. You're embarrassing me.
And to me, I was like, is his fantasy that he's a greaser and that his mom will embarrass him? Like, who is this kid? I immediately thought, oh, that must be the boyfriend of the girl who got beat up. And he's looking for the person. I was thinking way too rational.
Yeah, no, it's just a guy.
Like, does he dress like that? Is that a real thing?
Vance, that's what cool people look like at Sunnydale. They dress up like weird, futuristic greasers. Yeah. And then they're like uber Italian moms show up and start smooching all over. Yeah.
Oh, there's no parents watching over the comatose kid or the kid in the hospital, but this mom comes through.
Well, it's obviously like that's this guy's nightmare is like being embarrassed in front of his greaser buddies.
If that's his nightmare that his mom shows up, he's got it good.
That's not bad. Yeah. So Xander and Willow see this, and they're like, haha, that's embarrassing. Then they walk into class, and then Xander's all of a sudden naked, except for he's wearing underwear. Mm-hmm. And Willow's like, where are your clothes? And everybody starts laughing at him. He's like, I don't know.
I thought this was weird that they didn't go full Monty here.
Right?
Like, just shoot him waist up.
Yes.
Like, when he was covering his chest, I'm like, oh, dude, that's not the first thing you cover when you're new. Yeah. And then he cut, and he's like, got these crisp white boxers on. And you're just like, oh, okay, so you're like not out of shape or unfit either. Like, you're just shirtless.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It just didn't seem like. Sure. It'd be embarrassing, but I don't think everyone in this school, the weird stuff that happened, that'd be normal.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Like last episode, there was a guy with a puppet on his desk. Taking
a test with a ventriloquist dummy on his hand.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be shocked if anyone showed up in their underwear.
They'd be like, Xander, please put on some clothes and before you come to class. He'd be like, what? I thought I had clothes on.
Yeah. So he's freaking out about that. They run over to the library, and Buffy is like talking to Giles, and this was a good nightmare for Giles.
Oh, I thought
this
is
when I was like this.
This would be a nightmare I was just thinking, like, if that happened to me, just in general, like.
So Giles has like a bunch of newspapers splayed out all over a desk, and Buffy's like, "So did you figure anything out, Giles?" And he's like, not exactly.
Indubitably up.
It seems as if I'm having a bit of a difficulty reading." And she's like, "What? You can read like 3 languages?" He's like, "Actually 5.
I love that he throws that in too.
Yeah. He's like, "But right now, I can't read anything. I'm looking at these words and they make absolutely no sense." And then Buffy picks up the first thing that she sees. It's an article about Billy, who is wearing number 19 in his little league uniform, and how he got attacked and how he's in a coma. And then Giles is like, yes, that does seem like that's the Billy that we're talking about, and it is strange. And she's like, "Oh, lucky 19.
Well, here's the thing that troubled me with this. Buffy's been seeing a mystical little kid around. This is the first time she decides to share that information.
Yeah.
That kid was too young to be in their high school.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there's something wrong. She keeps seeing him. She's like, "Oh, I never thought it was a big deal, so I didn't mention it. It just seemed that he would show up and weird stuff would happen." I'm like, you're the Slayer. Like, when the Anointed One shows up, he's got you. She's going to see a little kid and she's going to just melt. He's going to stab her in the throat.
I wish the people that listen to this podcast could have seen your face when you went, "You're the Slayer."
I mean, that's vital information.
Yeah.
That's vital information that you're withholding.
Yeah, I mean, she's seen him twice. She saw him with the spiders, and she saw him with the test that she didn't realize she was having.
Yeah.
And then, like, the huge leap forward in time.
Yeah.
So, like, there's definitely something going on with this little kid.
And she also went to a hospital and saw a little kid in a coma, and she didn't think, "Oh, that looks like the shape of the kid I keep seeing."
Yeah. Nope, she just figures it out that it's Billy because he's lucky 19, whatever. And then this is when first sighting of Buffy's dad.
Well, before that, Giles talks about astral projection and all that stuff. And then
Buffy calls him Asteroid Boy or something.
And she's like, "I'm not knowledge girl."
And
he wants her to start doing something. I forget.
Yeah, so then her dad shows up and he's like, "Hey, Buffy." And then she introduces him to Giles. And he's like, "Can I talk to you privately?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, Dad, whatever." And he's like, pulls her outside. And then I was like, I don't like where this is going at all. I thought it was going to be way worse. But they go outside and they sit on a bench. And he's like, "Buffy, I feel like it's time that you finally know the truth about why you and your mom, your mom and I got divorced." And she's like, "Oh, okay. I thought it was just that you guys grew apart." And he was like, "No, it was you raising you and being around you. And like, you're such a bad kid and all this trouble you always get into. It's embarrassing. And like, I don't know why I even come and visit you anymore. I get nothing out of this, so I'm not going to do that anymore." And they like slaps her leg and he's like, "Good talk, champ." And he just walks off. And then you see the creepy little kid.
I was dying laughing this whole scene because I knew it was like a nightmare, but just watching him just rip her apart. He's like, "Yeah, you're not as smart as I'd like you to be, and didn't expect you to turn out like this." But he was like, "I get roasting. When I get nothing out of these visits." And to Sarah Michelle Gellar's credit, she is acting this up. Like she is got tears in her eyes. She is hurt, and it's perfect. But I just know it's not real, so it's just so funny to me. Because he's just like, like no one would ever say that to their daughter. Like, he's just like, nah, you're not. I get nothing.
Yeah, and he's delivering it so like, oh, sweetie, don't you understand? Like, it's you. Yeah. You're a bad kid. You didn't turn out how I wanted you to. It was a mistake to have you. You're kind of dumb.
Have you spent time with yourself?
Yeah. I just loved when he was like, you're not that bright.
I was like, jeez. And this is all stemmed from the beginning where I guess when she was talking to Willow and stuff, and the mom was reassuring her that it wasn't her, that this was all set up in the beginning. And this is a classic children of divorce feeling that they're the ones at fault.
Yeah, and she even mentioned something about like how, he is supposed to visit her every weekend, but he doesn't, and blah, blah, blah. And my thought is, Buffy, don't let your dad come to the Hellmouth. Right? Like, be like, hey, I will take a bus to LA or whatever. Like, it's safer there. I mean, I'm sure there's tons of vampires in LA, but it's not on the Hellmouth, apparently. Yeah. Yeah, lucky LA. Yeah. Well, Sunnydale is only like a half hour outside of LA. If it's a half hour outside of LA, it's like an hour and a half to get there. All right. Fair. Very fair. So then we go back to Xander and Willow go to the library, and Xander's now wearing like gym clothes, and Giles is like, where are your clothes? And he's like, I'd like to know. And they talk about like, oh yeah, this is all about everybody's nightmares coming true. Yeah, Willow puts it together really quick. Yeah. And then we cut to Cordelia's hair being super frizzy. Yeah. But I love that that's her nightmare. Just like, oh my God, my hair. She like tries to comb it and the comb breaks. Yeah. And then her hair's like coming out. It's like her hair's too tangled and too brittle. Yeah. Yeah. It's hilarious. Yeah. Then Buffy sees the coma kid go into the like gymnasium, and she talks to him and she's like, hey, you're Billy, right? And he's like, I'm Billy? I am Billy. She's like, you're Lucky 19, right? He's like, 19? Yes, I am Lucky 19. I play Little League. And then she's like, what's going on here, dude? And he's like, there's an ugly man chasing me. And she's like, who's the ugly man? Where is he? And he's like, he's right behind you. Yeah. Ugly guy hits Buffy with the club. He's beating the shit out of her. Yeah, and then it like we get into this poorly staged action scene. But before that, I wanted to talk about Giles just says that this kid in the coma is able to do all this stuff, and it's possible because stuff like this happens when you live on a Hellmouth. Yeah. I was like, wait, what? That's all the explanation you need, Vance. That's like the plot, like, I'm not going to say kryptonite. Contrivance, convenience. Yeah, yes, exactly. Like anything can happen on this Hellmouth. Well, this is the weird thing. If this can happen, like everyone's having their nightmares, and a spoiler, it gets reversed at the end. I don't know what people remember from this, right? Yeah. Then that could have been the reason why people don't remember the stuff in the club. You know, is that like now that we know that these things can happen, like the world is completely different. Like reality was about to fall apart. Yeah. Here. Yeah, I don't understand really what's going on. Like, this isn't just like a monster trying to eat someone. Like, I would have loved to have seen some vampire nightmares. Oh. I want to see the nightmares that the monsters have. Yeah, like the master is just like being dipped into a bath of holy water or something. Like, what is Angel doing right now? Is he like reliving like all of the people he slayed coming back to kill him or something? Yeah. That would have been fun to see. Yeah. I mean, you only got so much time, but yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the ugly guy is beating the shit out of Buffy. Cordelia is being dragged into chess club, which was another great.
Laughed out loud for that one. That was it. That was the moment I was like, this is great. Her being dragged in, and the slow reveal that it's chess club was
she's screaming, I swear I'm not in chess club. She's dressed like a 1950s, like going to a sock hop.
Yep,
type.
Yeah, she's got the Back to the
Poodle.
Future mom's outfit on, basically.
Yeah, like a poodle skirt.
Yeah. I wanted to say I did stumble across a Cordelia spoiler.
Oh no.
It's one that's kind of inevitable if you just go to her IMDb.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
She's in Angel, the show.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know at what form, but she is in Angel, the show, as Cordelia.
That's crazy.
Like, I don't know if she turns into a vampire at some point. I don't know if she just eventually teams up with Buffy and the gang. I don't know.
Wouldn't it be hilarious to have her dumb, like, kind of preppy Valley Girl ass, like, Angel's sidekick? Because he's so, like, brooding and, like, dark, and she's just like, Angel, shut up. Your hair is awful.
Yeah, I just looked up, like, I was looking up something. I was, like, looking up Angel to see, like, oh, how many episodes was Angel, and how many? Because David Boreanaz,
I feel like Angel was on for a while.
David Boreanaz went from this show to Angel to Bones, right?
Yeah,
like all like right next to each other, and they're all like almost 200 episodes a pop. Like,
there's like 200 episodes of Angel.
Like, they're like 100 something. Yeah, there's like, it's about as long as this.
Oh my god!
Yeah, like he has just been on TV, and then I just saw her, Charisma Carpenter and Cordelia. I was like, wait, she's an Angel. Like, it's one of her top credits.
Amazing.
So yeah, she does not die.
Well, all right. I would love to have David Boreanaz's career, like, because he's paid. Like, he's a wealthy man, but I think that he can go out. Like, he's in that Navy SEALs show now, I think.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a long TV career.
Yeah.
And
like, I don't think anyone.
He's got like a Frasier career where he played the same character for like
that is
8
true.
years.
I don't think anyone would like accost him outside, though. You know what I mean? Like, he's famous, but not famous enough to where he can't go to the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he can kind of get away a little low key where people be like, "Oh, I know him," but he might not.
Or be like, "Is that?
Yeah.
Is that? Whatever."
Yeah.
Well, we got way off.
Is that Bones?
I forgot he was in Bones. That show was on for a long time too.
I never watched it, but yeah.
So yeah, Buffy is getting her chess club. Oh, so then the Giles and Xander and Willow all are like, well, everybody's nightmares are coming true. We should all separate.
Yeah, and it seemed like this was Willow's nightmare, because this is classic horror movie trope of, all right, we should all split up. And and it zooms in on her. And she's like, but that seems even more dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then she goes into a basement alone, the same basement where the girl was smoking and got beat up by the ugly guy.
Yeah.
And she gets grabbed by a random hand off screen, so you don't know what's going on with her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the thing that I felt like didn't get paid off at all. Xander is walking through like this weird nightmare hallway.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier in the episode, he said something about when they were talking about Wendell's spiders crawling all over his face. He was like, it's not like it was like Nazis or anything.
Yeah.
So Xander's in this creepy hallway, and there's like swastikas spray painted all over the hallway. And that is it for the Nazi stuff.
Yes, you're right.
I was expecting more Nazi, like Hitler, to come attack him. And also, is he Jewish? Like, I know that Willow, her last name is like Rosenbaum or something, which is like a kind of a Jewish last name.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think he was Jewish. But
yeah, I mean, I have no idea what. Yeah, his last name is Harris. Xander Harris, so I wouldn't expect him to be Jewish.
He might. I mean, he could have. I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, isn't Judaism through the mom's side? So if the mom took his father's life, I don't know.
I'm definitely. I just thought they went hard when they decided to go with the swastikas in the background. I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna get real dark.
Yeah. So when I saw the swastikas, I was like, oh man, this is about to be like some kind of Holocaust, like Nazi concentration camp thing.
Yeah, and it's like he keeps finding candy bars.
Yeah, he like looks down at the ground and he sees like, and I did think this was a nice touch.
Ooh, piece of candy. It's like from Family Guy. Ooh, piece of candy.
I did think this was a nice touch. I don't know if they did this because of copyrights or something, but I know in the Hershey's bar that he finds, like some of the letters are missing, but I also think it's because you can't read when you're dreaming. Like when you're trying to read in a dream.
No,
like,
that doesn't track because the last candy bar he finds, he completely reads it 100%.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. They
so
weren't
that definitely is a
thinking
copyright thing.
They weren't thinking at that level.
So he eats like a Baby Ruth, he eats a chocolate Hershey bar, and he's just walking around in this Nazi hallway like, oh, I love candy.
Oh, wow. Oh, they're all my favorites. Okay.
So I had no idea where his nightmare was going. Because
I was like, is he going to get trapped in a internment camp? Is he going to like get like a bunch of candy and the gate's going to swing down? There's going to be a bunch of overacting Nazis with German accents. Oh, yeah, we finally got you. Like,
I also was like, is he going to get like super fat because he's eating all this chocolate, or is the chocolate going to be like poop or something? Like I had no idea what was going on in his nightmare.
It would be fine if they didn't introduce the swastikas.
Yeah.
Because that makes you go, okay, what? But then, you're right. The payoff is a completely different payoff, which if you get rid of the swastikas, then you can have this payoff and it's fine. Or you keep the swastikas and you do a different payoff.
Yes. So then we go back to Buffy with Billy, and they see him playing baseball in like a dream, and he gives his backstory about like, you know, my last Little League game, my coach, he blamed me for us losing, and because I dropped a fly ball and it was my fault that my team lost. And then Buffy's like, it's not your fault. Like, there's a bunch of other people on the team. Like, there's 8 other kids on the team. It's not solely your fault. And he's like, you know what? You're right. And then they turn and they see the ugly guy chasing them. Then they jump into a bush. And then on the other side, they're in a graveyard.
I have a little pushback on their 8 other players or whatever.
Obviously, Buffy doesn't play sports.
Yeah, I mean, in baseball, it's one of those things where everyone's like so separated. Like, and if the fly ball comes up and you miss the fly ball, it's not like someone else could have had it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess
I get her point. I get her point. Like, you lose games as a team, you win as a team.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I guess in the sense of like, the 8 other kids, you know, they could have scored more, so it wouldn't have been such a big deal. Yeah. But, I mean, him dropping that fly ball is his fault.
Yeah. It's like, you dropped the fly ball, you lost the game. You lost the game. It's fine. It happens. Like,
yeah.
It's...
Especially in Little League, like, this kid is like, I think he's like 10 or 12 or something.
Yeah.
That shit happens.
Yeah, and it wasn't like for the championship. It's literally just one of 50 games they're going to play.
Yeah. So he's feeling guilty about that. Then they jump through a bush and now they're in a graveyard. Then we go back to Willow, and her nightmare is that she has to sing opera in front of a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't know the words, and she's a bad singer. And the guy that she's singing opera with is pissed at her because she doesn't know her lines or whatever. It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Xander's nightmare, and he's just like eating all this chocolate. He sees a chocolate hurricane.
Is this the school? Why is it under construction? I think it is the
school. Why? I think it is the school, and I don't know why it's under construction.
It's got all this plastic sheeting.
I think just to add to the creepiness.
Yeah. Where's all the other? Like, are all the other students transported somewhere else?
I don't know.
Like, reality is flipped, man.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like everybody's living in their own head reality at this point.
No, because other people can see it.
That is true. Yeah, dude. This is, you know what, Vance? I think this show's a bunch of bullshit.
they went on. I thought when this episode started and it was like the master, I was like, oh yeah, we haven't been dealing with the vampires in a while. Like I was like, oh, this will be cool. And then it's like, nope, we're dealing with little kid that is a dream master for some reason.
No.
Yeah.
So he picks up his chocolate hurricane. He's like, oh, this is my favorite. I haven't had this chocolate bar since my 6th grade birthday party. And then you start to hear a guy in the background like, and it's a clown. And then the clown has a knife and he stabs through the construction sheet and he starts chasing Xander.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a clown. Not a Nazi clown.
Yeah. Like, make it a Nazi clown. Like, double down on it. Like, because they didn't everybody else had their stuff set up. Mm-hmm. Buffy's fear of, like, her dad not leaving her mom because it's her. Willow's like, I don't want to sing in public. Mm-hmm. Giles is like, I love books.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, at least it's not Nazis. He didn't mention clowns or anything like that.
No,
it's not.
I think that they were like, you know what? Maybe Nazis would be a little too intense.
I feel like they had already painted on the wall, and then someone from one of the higher ups was like, "Whoa, what are we doing here?" All right, it's too late to paint over that wall. I guess
he's gonna be chased by Adolf Hitler, right?
Yeah. That's what they wanted. They're like, all right, we'll turn him into a clown.
Okay, well, this is gonna be crazy in reshoots, but you know. So yeah, then a killer clown is chasing him. Then Buffy and the coma kid are in a graveyard, and the master shows up, and he's like, Buffy's like, "You're not real. This is just a nightmare." And he's like, "Guess what? Nightmares are real now because of that kid. I'm your nightmare. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna bury you alive." Throws her into an open grave, into a casket that closes immediately as she slams into it.
It's like a spring-loaded hinge. She's like, and it goes.
And then it's like, yeah, wouldn't it be a nightmare to be buried alive?
Yeah. And buried alive, that's a fear. I get.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But she should not be afraid of the master. And I'm going to go back to what might be the first or second episode of this series, when she went down. It was the second episode, and she just went down into the Hellmouth, planning to kill him with almost nothing. She had her bare hands. When they go to rescue that Jessie kid, she doesn't even have a weapon on her. She's just like, I'm going for it. Now all of a sudden, she's afraid of this master. Like, Buffy's very cocky and confident in herself usually.
Yeah,
I don't feel like this would be her biggest nightmare.
I mean,
being buried alive, but not like her being like, oh no, I found the master and I'm about to kill him, and then I just dropped my stake. Like, it would be maybe the fear of not being able to finish the job or failing at the job, but not a fear of him itself, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistency here. And I point no further than Xander's nightmare Nazi thing.
Yeah.
But speaking of Xander, after Buffy gets buried alive, Giles, Willow, and Xander all find each other.
How?
And who knows? Makes no sense. And then all of a sudden, Xander is being chased by the clown with Willow. And he's like, you know what? Enough of this. Turns around and he's like, hey, you're a bad clown. Your balloon animals sucked. Everybody can do a giraffe. And he just like punches the clown and knocks him out. It's like, that's it?
I just love seeing people get punched. And like with that, like one punch man like hits that just knocks someone out. Like, yeah. Like, I still laugh at Buffy hitting that security guard.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, like that clown does like 5 rolls on the ground after he hits them. And I thought it was going to be like a pivotal, you have to face your nightmare and you can beat it. Not every nightmare is punchable. Giles can't like punch the book till he can read it. You know?
How amazing would that have been if it was that? Willow punches every audience member, and the opera guy, I can sing now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would have been so funny. But yeah, I thought it was going to be like some kind of face your fear lesson, but I feel like that doesn't happen.
No, not at all.
So they go outside of the high school, and Giles is like, reality is bending with nightmares. This is so crazy. And then Willow's like, since when did we have a cemetery across the street? And then Giles is like, oh, I don't think that it is. And then so they're like, well, let's walk into it anyway.
Yeah, it's like this weird effect of like...
Oh, it's so bad, dude.
It's like this hazy darkness because it's like night there too. It looks terrible. And I think they are near a cemetery.
Well, I feel like they're always in a cemetery.
Like that cemetery, I guess that cemetery is between the Bronze and the school. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. But I do know that that special effect was pretty rough.
Somebody send us a map of Sunnydale.
Yeah. But so they go into the cemetery nighttime thing, and they're like, well, whose nightmare is this? And Giles goes, it's mine. And then they go up to a tombstone, and it's Buffy's tombstone. And he's like, I failed you. I was supposed to protect you. I should have trained you better, but you were just so gifted. I felt like you didn't need to.
Giles is a jerk here. He's literally hijacking her fear. She's buried alive, but he's made it all about him.
Yeah. He didn't even realize that it was her nightmare.
Yeah. He's like, oh, this is my nightmare.
Guys, let me handle this. This is all about me.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
So as he's giving this soliloquy to Buffy's tombstone, Buffy's hand pops up from the grave and grabs him, and he's like, oh! She comes up, she rises from the grave, only to reveal that she is now a vampire. And then Giles is like, oh shit, this is your nightmare. I didn't realize you had ever dreamed about being a vampire. And she's like, yeah, I mean, obviously this be a rough look for the Slayer to become a vampire.
And I don't know how to change my face back like the other ones do.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, don't look at me.
Yeah.
So then they're like, well, we need to find Billy and wake him up, and then that'll reverse all this stuff, hopefully. And then so Buffy's like, and we better hurry because I'm getting hungry. And Xander's like, this is a joke, right? This is a joke. So then she and Xander walk ahead, and then Willow is this is my favorite thing. This is what made me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Willow's like, are we sure that waking Billy up is going to reverse all this? Like, how do we know for sure? Did you read anything about that? Like, how do we know that's going to happen? And then Giles just turns to her and he goes, Willow, do shut up.
Yeah. like he's reached the end of his rope.
Yeah, he's just like, Willow, zip it, dude. Like, I can't do this with you right now. I need some kind of hope that, like, if this is the answer.
Yeah, that was great.
I did love his like very British. Yeah. Do shut up.
Do shut up.
So they go to visit the coma kid at the hospital, and then they're like screaming at him. You're like, Billy, wait. And then so...
and the doctor's like, the hospital's a mess. It's like the Walking Dead hospital, you know? Like,
yeah. The doctor's hands are all fucked up and like he can't open them. And he's just like, oh. They go into Billy's room. They're like, Billy, wake up. And then Astral Billy is like, that ain't going to work. The only thing...
Yeah, I love that he said that. Like, it's not going to work. They tried. The doctors tried that. That was the first thing they tried.
Right.
Yelling at a coma patient.
So they're like, so what will work? And then Buffy's like, I know what'll work. And then the ugly man shows up and she's like, hey, ugly guy, I'm going to beat you up. So then vampire Buffy starts beating up ugly guy.
That sound effect that she was making, her vampire sound effect was super weird. It was like a growling, high-pitched digital sound. Like no other vampires made that sound before.
Well, no what other vampire was a Slayer before.
Mm-hmm. She needs to become a Slayer. Gave her superpowers.
Yeah. So then she beats this ugly guy up to the point of him being subdued, and she brings him into the hospital room with Billy, and they're like, is this everything? Is everything going back to normal yet? And then there's some kind of
she
cutaway.
broke his like little club hand thing. Like he
right.
He had this like extra long hand that had this like weird, I guess it was supposed to be hard, but it was like a plastic flipper that would flop around.
It was like a baseball bat, which would make sense because it's like the Little League thing.
Okay. So you just didn't have a regular baseball bat? Like,
no.
Okay.
He had a club hand.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
I forgot to mention this, and I don't know if this happens right now or as they're going to the hospital, but there is a cutaway to a scene outside. It's like a wide shot of the city, and then there are these horrendous CGI like bumblebees or like flies or something.
Wasp or murder hornets or whatever. Like, it's unnecessary. It's when Willow looks out the window of the hospital while they're fighting. While she's fighting. And she's like, we gotta hurry. It's getting worse. I'm like, that's the... Whose nightmare is this?
Right?
Why?
I think it might be hers, I guess.
But like, why would that be like, oh no, like you need to have something like, oh, the world's folding in on itself, or see like something like that. Not like, oh no, the insects have come as been predicted. Like that means nothing. Like that there's a killer clown. There's this guy fighting in the hallway. Buffy's a vampire. If Buffy's a vampire, you guys are all screwed. Like,
yeah, it's over.
Yeah, so I don't know what this is. These bees outside mean. Yeah,
and they were just so bad looking.
Yeah, it's just an unnecessary shot. Yeah,
it wasn't even that it was like CGI and it was bad CGI. It definitely was that, but they were also like pixelated. Like it was pixelated. It was so bad, dude.
But and so unnecessary. Like
So then so Buffy drags the ugly guy in, and she's like, you know what needs to happen in order to make this all go away. And then Billy in his astral form goes over to the ugly guy and then just like rips his face off.
Scooby-Doo, man. You got to rip the mask off the monster and make it a person.
So he rips his face off, and then they're all back in the regular world. Everything is reversed. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. That's the end of that. And then his Little League coach comes in and he's like, oh, how's Billy doing? I've been visiting him every day since the attack and was worried about my lucky 19. And then you kind of get like, oh, this is the guy. And then Billy wakes up and he's like, losing that game wasn't my fault. There's 8 other kids on the team. And then the Little League guy's like, oh no, I've been found out, and tries to like run away, and Xander catches him, and it's obvious that like he was the guy that beat him up after the game.
They also do a Wizard of Oz reference when he wakes up and he's like, and you were there, and you were there. Yeah, and I was like, why did he do that?
He's like, I dreamt about all of you. And who are all of you?
You were there, and you were there. And then him and Buffy have a nice like smile and wink at each other, and he like leans over after they like catch the guy. I thought they kind of they didn't go as hard as they could with him calling him his lucky 19. Seemed like it was very molestory.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And they were like, we want to tease Nazis and we want to tease sexual abuse, but we don't want to go there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we'll just give this guy a club hand.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Oh no, this guy was like, hey, you're my lucky 19 and you lost one random game and I beat the shit out of you. Like, what? Like,
maybe that's why we got the story by Joss Whedon and the teleplay by David Greenwald, because the story was like Nazis and molestation. And then David Greenwald was like, oh, we gotta PG-ify this.
He's like, if you're gonna do that, I only want story credit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because normally for TV shows, you don't get it's rare that you get like a story and a written credit, because normally it's like you just assign a script to a writer. The writer writes it, but then it goes to the room and everyone pitches on new stuff, you know?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. But Yeah, usually on these like things, it'll just say like directed by, written by.
Yeah.
But this one, it's like under the written by, it says story by Joss Whedon, teleplay by David Greenwald. So there must have been something. Maybe the original story was quite different.
I mean, if it's too different, then I don't know if he would still. I don't know. Whatever. I just thought very abrupt. Where's this kid's parents? Like,
who knows?
Like it's one thing for these high schoolers and you're like, fine, their parents aren't around a bunch, but like this kid's super young.
Yeah.
Like to the point where he's in a coma and his parents aren't even there. And the coach keeps checking on him.
I was going to say, and the only person checking on him is his little league coach?
Yeah. Like.
Very bizarre. But yeah, that kind of wrapped up that thing and wrapped it up nicely. They caught the guy. Buffy's like, Xander, that was kind of heroic what you did there. And he's like, oh, me? And then Buffy's dad shows up to pick her up from school, and she's all happy, and he's such a sweetheart. He's like, oh, Buffy, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so excited to have the weekend with you. And so Willow turns to Xander, and she's like, so when Buffy was a vampire, did you still think she was a babe? And he was like, I mean, yeah. And she's just like, God, even if she's a vampire, I can't get with you. And that's the episode.
Yeah, it was a really... Normally they have a better little tag ending. This one was okay, I guess.
It was fine.
This
wasn't my favorite episode.
Yeah,
but
I wish I could
right.
have seen Willow more hurt by that, but she was more like, oh, what are we going to do with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willow just keeps getting stepped on, dude.
Yeah. Here's a question.
All right.
The world's about to fold in on itself due to this kid with the dream or whatever. Do you think they should have killed the kid at some point?
They definitely killed the kid. Definitely killed the kid.
Like, they don't even...
Real life...
They don't toy with that option, but...
That seems like something Xander would have brought up.
Xander or Giles. Because Giles seems like he's one of those... for the cause, matter of fact, like some people have to die for us to fulfill our mission.
I could see Giles doing like, well, unfortunately, we have to, take his life.
Yeah.
And then Buffy would be like, there's gotta be another way.
And then Willow will be like, but we don't know if we kill him, it will stop the whole thing or not. And then he's like, do shut up.
Dude, shut your trap.
I've made the plan. We're killing a kid. It's like, I don't know if killing him would have solved it. I don't really, but it's like, I feel like
killing him would have made it worse. I feel like it would have, I think that the whole thing was like, we needed to find out who the killer or who attacked him was. And if we kill him.
But then if you kill him, he might not be in your nightmares, but he might just be a ghost.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I would have killed the kid.
I know you would have.
I got no qualms about killing him.
You wouldn't even have asked any questions. You would have just been stabbing them like, wait, was this the one?
No, that would have been my first question. Like, so we killed the kid, right? It's like, so how do you wake somebody up from a coma? Just like electric shock them?
They just started yelling. Like, if there's a way, I think the doctors would have done it.
Right.
And this kid has no bruises on him either. He's been beaten in a coma. He comes out looking fresh. Yeah,
it's only been like a week or two, I think they said.
Has it been that long? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it was a few days.
No.
I don't think it was a week. Was it?
No, well.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, how far back do you think it goes? Do you think it goes back to the point where that girl who was beaten up, it was before that? Because they don't go to a different place. They're still in the hospital.
I also want to say this. After all of this, Buffy, Xander, and Willow go back to school. And it's not a different day.
Oh, you're right.
They're wearing the same clothes and they're leaving school now. Yeah. And Buffy's dad is picking her up.
Yeah.
After all of this turmoil with everyone, they still finish the school day.
Wow, you're right.
Like that last scene of them walking out of the school in the same clothes. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah, because it wasn't like they walked from the hospital, and then they just went back to school, and then the dad picked them up, and they were like, just happened to be in front of the school. They were leaving like a class.
Yeah.
Man, they're dedicated.
For as bad as students as they are, they're very dedicated students. Like, that was what got me when I saw them coming out in the same clothes. I was like, no way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot that Dad was coming that day to pick her up.
Yeah, all of this took place in one day.
And Buffy says to have a killer weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, Buffy, I'm going with you. Like, if, like, there's going to be some more weird stuff coming down.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on Nightmares, Vance?
No, I just loved Cordelia being dragged into the chess club. I loved the dad just ripping into Buffy. Because also, this is our first time meeting this guy.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about him. And that's what we see.
And he was just the most blasé, plain milk toast guy, just roasting her. She's crying.
Yeah, I was like,
"No, you're not bright. You're not special."
Man, and yeah, the really good acting from Sarah Michelle Gellar. She had to do a little range. She had to interact with a kid. She had to be sympathetic to the girl who was too freaked out to mention the ugly guy. Yeah, she had to, she had to do some stuff in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fight choreography, though, in some of the scenes, rough. That first fight that she had with the ugly guy, when she's jump kicking and getting thrown on the bench.
Yeah, and I mean, even the ugly guy when he attacks Laura, like that looked so stupid. Like something like the bees. Like, again, this wasn't my favorite episode. It had some interesting concepts, a lot of inconsistencies. Like, why did Laura see the ugly guy? Why wasn't there Nazis?
Yeah.
Why with those bees, the pixely bees? But it was pretty good. I mean, it was standard.
Yeah, I mean, I what I was saying before we got on is that they are pushing the boundaries of like what you can do in the show. Like, I mean, we've had a ventriloquist dummy come to life. We've had a lot of weird stuff.
And a robot.
The
plant
oh my
lady.
God, the robot was so great.
We had Xander turning into
What's
a
the plant lady?
What do you mean?
The plant lady, you said?
Yeah, the plant lady.
Who's the plant lady?
The teacher that turned into a praying mantis. Oh, sorry. She's a praying mantis.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. I remember her being green and like stretchy arms.
Like a plant.
Yeah. You know what? I thought it was like vines. You know what, Vance?
You said it earlier. I'm happy we cleared that up. All right.
Yeah, I did say it earlier, and I saw you looking at me like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And I was like, this is the plant lady.
I'm like, what did I miss? Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. You can follow us on Instagram, BoysWatchingBuffy. If you want to email us, BoysWatchingBuffy@gmail.com, right?
Yeah.
I will never remember this.
It's literally the title of the show.
Yeah.
It's not even that hard.
It's just that the last one had podcast at the end of all of them, so I'm just like a little confused. I got used to saying Boys Watching Buffy.
You can't even tell if it's a plan or a praying mantis.
Yeah,
so.
I'm wasted when we do these.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for our next episode, which is titled Out of Mind, Out of Sight. Got any thoughts on what that could be?
Out of mind, out of sight. I mean, after this episode, this could be anything.
I think that there's a blind person. I'm going to guess there's a blind person.
I'm going to say someone disappears and no one remembers them.
Oh.
Except for one person. That's what I'm going to go with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll figure it out next time. Thank you, guys. See ya when we are talking about Out of Mind, Out of Sight. Later.
They're not insects. They're arachnids.
They're from the Middle East?
Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.